Welcome to St Martin in the Fields. Welcome to Great Sacred Music. Special welcome to those joining us online. World Water Day, which particularly highlights the 6th Sustainable Development Goal of getting proper sanitation to the whole world's population by 2030, has been celebrated every year since 1993 on the 22nd of March. But we're so excited about it, we're celebrating it together 2 days ahead of time. Now, in the Bible, water is initially a cosmic force. In creation, the Spirit hovers over the face of the waters. Noah sets his ark afloat on the waters, and Moses guides the children of Israel across the Red Sea. And you'll remember Jonah encounters the raging sea when he's thrown off the boat to be swallowed by a whale. Jesus engages this sense of cosmic power when he calms the storm on Galilee and when he walks on the water. As to mighty rivers, they are a rarity, of course, in the Middle East. But the promise of still waters in the 23rd Psalm is about a constant supply of fresh water on which to found life. When Jesus talks to the Samaritan woman about living water in John chapter 4, it's a wonderfully positive image. Fundamentally, the Jordan is the river of transformation in the Old Testament, from wilderness to freedom, as Israel enters the promised land in the book of Joshua. And in the Gospels, the central motif in the whole Bible, from a Christian's point of view, is concerning water, is the notion of baptism, a similar crossing from death to life. Now, it's our tradition at Great Sacred Music to sing together a hymn at the beginning and the end every week. And so if you take your leaflets, if you're in the building, and turn to the inside page, you'll find Michael Perry's famous hymn. Now, Michael Perry was an evangelical hymn writer and vicar of Tunbridge in Kent who died tragically young in his 40s. Unusually for an evangelical hymn, Like a Mighty River Flowing, focuses not on how Jesus gives us peace, but on what that peace actually feels like. In each verse, there are 2 analogies from creation, followed by a turn to human experience of friendship or forgiveness. The whole hymn dwells on Paul's God that passes all understanding. The tune, composed by Noel Tredinnick, doyen of All Souls Langham Place, up on Regent Street by the BBC, is named Old Yevering after the birthplace of Christianity in North Northumberland, where Paulinus first baptized converts to Christianity in the 7th century. We remain seated, the voices stand and lead us as we sing together, Like a Mighty River Flowing. The baptism of Jesus at the Jordan by John the Baptist appears in all four Gospels, although we tend to think of it in the way it's presented in Matthew and Luke, where three things happen. The heavens open, the Spirit descends as a dove, and a voice speaks saying, "You are my beloved Son, my favour rests on you." One interpreter speaks of the way this means to those being baptized: heaven is open to you, God's Spirit is in you, you mean everything to God. The Jordan is the place where Israel enters the promised land under Joshua, but crossing the water also holds resonances of crossing the Red Sea under Moses 40 years before. So there's a sense of freedom from slavery as well as freedom to dwell in a land of their own. In many ways, the baptism of Jesus scene is a reenactment of Psalm 42, and we're going to hear a setting in a moment of Psalm 42 by Judith Weir, which she wrote for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, who, as many of you may know, was the monarch of this country for a very, very, very long time and died in 2022. Then we're going to hear The Pure River of the Water of Life, which is James Whitbourne's piece that refers to the portrayal in the book of Revelation of a heaven in which there are no tears and there is no night. It echoes the tree of Genesis 3, from which the forbidden fruit came, by speaking of the tree whose leaves are for the healing of the nations. We perform a great deal of James Whitbourne's music here at St. Martin's. He very sadly died at the age of 60 just last year, so it's a special opportunity to commemorate him together. Let's enjoy these two pieces now.
So
Well, the next piece is somewhat similar to the one we've just heard. In his Rivers of Living Water, Trevor Weston weaves together Psalm 105 and John chapter 7 to portray the lively rivers in contrast to the parched land. And just as we heard from the James Whitbourne piece just now, the undulations of the water conveying the sense of the coruscating rivers of the water of life. In very similar way, in this piece, we have long and interweaving vocal lines that contribute to the verdant and fertile tone. Let's enjoy together Rivers of Living Water by Trevor Weston. Well, it's time for us all to sing again now, and I'm going to take you back to 1225, St. Francis of Assisi, who wrote his poem, The Canticle of the Sun, based on Psalm 148. It's the oldest hymn written in the Italian language, and what's so distinctively Franciscan about it is that he doesn't extol the glories of creation and point to the wonder of the Creator, which would be a very conventional thing to do, and is in fact what Psalm 148 does. He talks directly to the creation and speaks to it as if it were another person. Thou flowing water, pure and clear, dear Mother Earth, who day by day let all things there Creator bless, is how he completes it. It's that quality and capacity of Francis to speak to creatures and speak to the inanimate creation that stands him out as a unique figure in the Middle Ages and still a pretty unusual figure in the history of the Church. William Henry Draper was the rector of Adel near Leeds, and he found himself at a loose end at Pentecost in 1919, and he wrote the version that we know well, All Creatures of Our God and King, for a children's Pentecost celebration in that year. And then all it took was for it to be set to the old German tune that we know very well, and we had possibly the most influential Christian hymn about creation and what we would today call ecology of them all, which we're now going to sing together. We remain seated, voices stand and lead us as we sing All Creatures of Our God and King.
Voice and with us sing.
Well, we're coming towards the end of Great Sacred Music for this week. You'll be pleased to know that next week, Great Sacred Music will be marking the Annunciation. Many of you will know that in the good old days, March the 25th was New Year's Day, and the year began on March the 25th because it's 9 months before Christmas, and of course that's when the conception of Jesus is timed. And that, of course, is like a whole new creation. So a very appropriate theological reason. We seem to have ended up with January the 1st that has no theological connotations at all. But we're not going to get into that now. If you want to be thoroughly miserable, then you can come to Choral Classics at 3:15 on Sunday for Drop, Drop, Slow Tears. The tears will be exceptionally slow. And if you want something a bit more cheerful, then come back to In Every Corner Sing on Monday, the 24th of March, when the theme will be spring. Now, we're going to finish vigorously with Moses Hogan's Like a Mighty Stream. You may know that Lift Every Voice and Sing is often known as the African American national anthem. And here Moses Hogan conflates it with words taken from Amos 5. Amos constantly denounces those who make gestures of piety but don't back them up with justice and fairness. They continue with harsh taxes, bribes, and oppression. And he finishes that passage with the famous words, let justice roll like a mighty stream. And of course, this was famously cited by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who quoted Amos 5 in his famous 1963 letter from a Birmingham jail, criticizing white clergy in these terms. I thought they were worth sharing with you. You may know them very well. We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Frankly, I have yet to engage in a direct action campaign that was well timed in the view of those who have not suffered unduly from the disease of segregation. For years now, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. We must come to see, with one of our distinguished jurists, that justice too long delayed is justice denied. Thanks for joining us.